You ever look at two houses side by side and wonder why one seems to last forever while the other is just constantly falling apart? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the hidden forces behind those catastrophic home failures. We're going to use one city as our case study to really understand what's going on deep inside your walls.
All right, so let's just dive right in. It almost always starts the same way, right? It's the middle of the night and you hear a sound that just makes your stomach drop. The sound of running water, but it's not coming from a faucet. For way too many people, that's where the nightmare really kicks off. And hey, we're not talking about a little drip, drip, drip under the kitchen sink. No way. We're talking about major, house-soaking emergencies that can rack up thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars in damage before you've even had your morning coffee. So, is this just really, really bad luck, or is there something else at play? Well, it turns out, in a lot of places, it's not random at all. What we found is that these huge disasters are usually just symptoms of much, much deeper problems. It's a unique mix of things that have been brewing for decades, creating what is essentially a perfect storm right under your house. So, culprit number one is something you can literally feel in the air. It's the local climate, which can act like this relentless attacker, just hammering away at a home's most vulnerable parts. The second piece of the puzzle is a story about history. It's kind of like a ghost in the machine, buried right there in the walls and under the floors, dating all the way back to when the house was first built. And the final culprit? It's the very ground the house sits on. Believe it or not, it's almost always moving in the slow, incredibly powerful, and really destructive dance. Okay, so let's break this down. First, let's talk about how the weather itself basically wages war on your plumbing. Because in a place like Michigan, it's not just about getting cold in the winter. It's all about the cycle. This freeze-thaw cycle isn't some rare thing. It's a seasonal weapon. Seriously, think of it like a hammer. Every time it freezes, water expands and bam, it hits the pipe. Then it thaws, then it freezes again, bam. Year after year, that little hammer just keeps swinging, weakening everything. And here's the kicker, it's the sheer consistency of this attack. This isn't a freak storm that happens once a decade. It's a predictable, annual stress test that old plumbing systems were just never, ever built to handle. And that constant pressure is always looking for the weakest link, and eventually it's going to find it. And that constant hammering from the climate is especially bad because of what's already lurking inside the walls of so many of these houses. We're talking about plumbing from a totally different time. I mean, look at this timeline. It really puts the ticking time bomb into perspective, right? We're asking pipes that are 50, 70, sometimes even 100 years old to keep up with modern life, all while getting beaten up by extreme weather. These aren't just old pipes. They're basically historical artifacts. And really, it all comes down to the material science. The old stuff, galvanized steel and cast iron, it actually rusts from the inside out. It gets super brittle, almost like old plastic, and then it cracks under all that pressure. Modern stuff like copper and PEX, it's flexible, it's durable, it was literally designed to handle this kind of stress. So now, let's add the final ingredient into this perfect storm. The very ground that these old, stressed-out pipes are buried in. It turns out the foundation of the problem is literally the foundation. Yeah, this isn't just dirt, it's an active force. See, soil with a lot of clay in it acts like a giant sponge. When it gets wet, it swells up, and when it dries out, it shrinks. And that creates this slow motion, but incredibly powerful squeezing and shifting on anything that's buried in it. So try to picture this. You've got an 80-year-old pipe that's already brittle. It's getting hammered by that freeze-thaw cycle from above, and now it's being slowly bent and squeezed by shifting soil from below. It's just a complete recipe for disaster. So you might be wondering, how in the world do you fix problems that are decades old and buried 6 feet underground? Well, you don't guess. You diagnose. See, modern plumbing isn't just about wrenches anymore. It's about science. A modern professional treats the house like a whole system. That sewer backup, it's not just a clog, it's a symptom. The real question isn't how to clear it, but why did it clog in the first place? Figuring out that root cause is the only way you get a fix that actually lasts. And check this out, the technology we have now is amazing. It's evolved to solve these really specific, old-school problems. We can use high-pressure water jets that blast through tree roots, or even repair a pipe underground without digging up your entire lawn.
These are targeted, almost surgical solutions for problems that are decades old.
So, what does this all boil down to? It brings us to what is maybe the single most important takeaway in all of this. It's not just about having the latest tech, it's about having the right knowledge. When it comes right down to it, context is everything. A plumbing issue in Pontiac, Michigan, with its unique climate, its clay soil, and its specific history, is a completely different animal than a problem in, say, Phoenix, Arizona. A one-size-fits-all approach is pretty much guaranteed to fail. Your home has a story. You know, it's written in the materials that were used to build it, the weather it's had to put up with, and the very ground it's sitting on. And understanding that story, that's the absolute key to protecting it from all those hidden forces that are working against it. So just take a second and think about your own home. How old is it? What's the weather like where you are? What do you know about its past? Answering those questions for yourself, well, that might just help you hear what your home is trying to tell you, and maybe, just maybe, stop a disaster before it ever has a chance to start.